According to the cloud.
Mhm.
Hi there, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Mhm.
I want to welcome Lara Parker today to the first ever conscious entrepreneurship interview that I'm doing as a series to kind of bring awareness to what it means to be a conscious entrepreneur and shifting our mindset and all sorts of things around actually bringing new businesses and new opportunities into the world today. So I want to we actually met through Instagram. We haven't met in person yet. And I know a little bit about you, but I just loved your content and what you talk about. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself and kind of how you got started in your journey, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. So, well, thank you for allowing me to be your number one. That's amazing. I feel honored. I am a manifestation and mindset coach, and I was absolutely not on this track. When I was young, I was groomed to be, you're going to go to school and you're going to get a job that's going to have a pension and benefits. And if you don't, you are a failure. And that's just the end of our relationship, would be the dynamic with my parents and I. So I went to be a nurse. And when I was in nursing school, of all things, I was exposed to a network marketing company. And I was kind of deceived in getting to this meeting. This girl in my class, she was in nursing school as well. And she said, would you, come to Starbucks and listen to me present something for work? I know that you're not going to judge me. And I know that, I can make mistakes in front of you and it'll be okay. So would you mind? And I said, of course. So I met her at Starbucks and she ambushed me with this other woman. And she was a decade older than us. And it ended up being a network marketing presentation. And long story short, while network marketing was not for me, I did give it a try because it was the first time that I had ever been exposed to the idea that you can create your own wealth and you can, you don't have to go to school necessarily and get a business degree in order to have a successful business. So, throughout that process, I was not passionate about the business or the products or anything like that, but I learned about manifestation and personal development in general. I did not know that there was a whole industry dedicated to, making your life better and enhancing your mindset. I just wasn't exposed to that world growing up. My mom was a teacher. My dad is a computer programmer, and he's literally like what you would imagine. He sits in his house and he just programs all day long. So, and my stepdad worked for the government. And so, everybody was kind of like, just get a secure job, whatever. So obviously I left the network marketing business behind, but I took with me the mindset work and I started reading books. And, the first thing I think that I was ever exposed to was develop a morning routine. And I love mornings. I always have. So I started being more intentional and constructive with my mornings. And I started, eating a little bit better and drinking a lot more water and journaling and diving into myself. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I am in nursing school and I have absolutely no desire to be here. But I finished nursing school and I became a nurse and I started my career in ICU. Because I thought, if I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to go all in. Like I want to work, where the excitement is, at least give it a try. And I did. And I loved it. And I loved being there. But at the end of the day, there was always a nurse crying because she was missing her son's first steps at home, or we were working Christmas or nights and weekends. Like it's not a lifestyle that I wanted. So I thought, well, what can I do to get out of this? And what am I passionate about? And I realized that all I did all day when I was off work was mindset work and reading and just learning. I became very like borderline obsessed with just creating a better version of myself. So I thought, well, why don't I help others do the same thing? So I think I mentioned this to you yesterday when we met on just our little call. A few nurses that I worked with were like, we work the same hours, we make the same money, but like your life seems to be a little bit better than mine. Like what are you doing differently? Like, how are you just getting all of these random bouts of luck, they would say.
Mhm.
Lara's lucky, lucky Lara. That's what they would say to me. And so I started very informally coaching them, and because I didn't know what I was doing. Um, and that progressed into starting an Instagram account and just sharing what I knew, and then that progressed into getting some certifications and going through the process of becoming a coach. And yeah, here we are today, and I love what I do, so
Amazing. I
yeah.
think that word manifestation can be scary for people, or they think it's
Yeah.
super spiritual.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to define it for us in a way that like brings it down to the real world. Like what would you
Mhm.
say manifestation is really?
Absolutely. I think we talked about this yesterday too, with
Yeah.
the whole, people, when you talk about manifestation, it can be very woo woo. I definitely thought it was. I thought people were
Mhm.
crazy who, when I first got into this, I was like, all right, I'll do the mindset work, but I'm not like sitting there and, calling in all these different weird things. So for me, it's a language thing. I think it's just, the words we use, and, manifestation to me, the way I use it is more practical than it is spiritual. I do have, I do meditate and I do visualize because it makes me feel good, and it calms me down and helps me, in my opinion, it helps me create a better life for myself. But the bare bones of it is the thoughts in our mind create the emotions that we have. And the emotions that we have on a regular basis, when we think a thought enough and it resonates with us enough on an emotional level, it becomes a belief. And it becomes an assumption. So if I assume, that like all men are bad, or all men always cheat, or it's hard to make money. Money's really hard to get and hard to keep. Then that is what I will observe in my reality. You can only observe in your reality what your subconscious mind believes. And once you dive into the subconscious mind, there are people who resonate with the spiritual side of it, and they do their routines and their regimens and rituals, I should say. But then there's the other people like Tony Robbins and Ed Milet and all of those guys who they're all doing the same thing. They're just calling it different things. So
Yeah.
instead of meditation, maybe they journal and they write I am statements because it convinces their subconscious mind. But manifestation world, the woo woo world, people write I am statements, but they feel connected to them, and they just go at it with more of a feminine approach. You can approach it with the feminine and the masculine. A combination of both is what I've found to be, the magic secret for me, because, masculine energy and feminine energy is something that I never learned about in my whole life. And I had no idea that we all, embodied both. But the feminine energy we all have feminine energy, no matter how masculine you are. You do get into this mode sometimes where you're receiving, or you're opening up. Like we all and I work really hard some days, and other days I sit there and I focus on how I'm feeling, and I try to better myself through meditation. But it doesn't really matter. Like I say, it doesn't matter what we call it. We are all doing all of it in the personal development world. Like if you are bettering yourself, you are touching on spirituality, whether you like it or not. And if you're not a spiritual person, or if you are a spiritual person and you don't like the masculine mindset work, well, guess what? You are touching on that too. I think it's
Yeah.
just a happy medium of both, and language is what stands in our way of understanding each other.
Yeah, I think I said to you, like, I really want to be highly spiritual, highly practical, because I think that's like I am more on the Tony Robbins side of like the masculine energy, but I believe that what you said was really important, where our thoughts create our feelings and our beliefs, and then from that, our beliefs and feelings create our actions, and our actions
Absolutely.
create our results. So the more that we can
Absolutely.
shift that,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
have you seen like from that, like what kind of results have you seen in clients and people that you've started
Mhm.
teaching this to? Like, I'd love to like know a story or two about that.
Absolutely. So the one thing I've noticed predominantly is that when people decide that they're going to start taking responsibility for their lives, and because you think about it, like you grow up and we are conditioned to believe that, you go to school and you go to university and you do what you want to do that makes you relatively happy, but think of the paycheck. And we're just conditioned to kind of just be bounced around in this society. But when people start recognizing that success is just a mindset and you are like a moment away from shifting your whole reality into another, like on another path, taking responsibility has been the number one thing that my clients take away. And they're like, some of them, when I first started, that was all a lot of people needed, because people meet you where you're at, where you are. I wasn't necessarily ready for big transformational clients at the time, but I would just teach people that take responsibility for your life. Everything that you have created in your life up to this point has been a result of your thoughts and your beliefs and the actions that you've taken based on your thoughts and your beliefs. So I get them to write down all of the things that they're happy and satisfied with in their life and all the things that they're dissatisfied with in their life. And oftentimes the things that they're dissatisfied with are relationships. Money is always number one, but those are the two things. People come to me because they want better relationships and better financial situations. And what they often realize is that, it's the fact that they've been waiting for something to happen, or in relationships, they've been just blaming the other person, or they do carry this assumption that all men or all women, whoever I'm coaching, they all do this or they all do that. So I think the one thing would be taking responsibility for their lives. That's the one thing that people really resonate with.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important to think about. Like, I think that's the decision part is the first part. People have to recognize that they can decide to make their life better. They can decide, but until they get that awareness, like it was for me, like I actually didn't really know what was going to bring me joy and happiness, but I knew that there was something calling me to like go travel and be a nomad and like go around the world. And then as I kind of like went down the journey and I started being more aware of like what I really wanted to bring into my life, I was like, I like what that person's doing. I like what that person's doing. I'm going to decide to take some actions to start bringing that stuff into my life. And I think that's part of the transformation process, is seeing what's out there and then creating a vision for yourself. So I'd love to know, like, what do you define as a transformation, and what do you see, like, why do people need to transform?
I love what you just said, because I think of the world as my catalog. And, if I see, and this was another mindset thing that changed my life, because when we see somebody with something that we want, we like, as we grow up, I don't know about you, I can't speak for anybody else, but I would get jealous and I would say, well, I don't understand. Like, even the simple things like, in elementary school at Christmas concerts, I would see people's parents like running up to them and being so happy to see them after the Christmas concert. Like, I didn't have that relationship with my parents. And I remember just being so jealous, or, so-and-so has a nicer car than me, or so, whatever it is. And what you have to realize is that when you are observing these things in your reality, it's an indication that it's available to you. That's what I switched my mind to. So like, just like you said, you see all these things that different people have, and instead of being like, like, why do they get that? You're saying to yourself, well, if they have it, I can do it. It's just a matter of some action steps I have to take. So in terms of a transformation, I think it depends where people are. So for me, when I first started, I was in a very, very abusive relationship. I had a horrible relationship with my parents. I was very dissatisfied at work, but I was working so hard. I was working overtime, like 3 days a week, and working full-time 4 days a week because it was shift work. And I was overworked and just trying to escape my own reality, and I just didn't know where to start, and I felt so overwhelmed. I was working so much, but I had no money because my partner at the time would take it all, and it was just, I felt very disempowered. So when I started to learn, and I started to accept the fact that I create my own reality, I sat down and I stopped taking overtime, first of all. And on my days off, I would just sit down at my dining room table and I would just like write down, why am I here? Why do I accept this behavior from this person, first of all, and I just started to dive into the whys of why I feel the way I feel. And, I realized that, like you said, it was all the action steps that I had taken leading up to this point. And it's a hard pill to swallow. Like, some people are just, they are not ready to accept the fact that they have created all of this negativity in their lives. But I was ready to accept that, because I was so at rock bottom. I just wanted to get out. So I started taking action steps in the opposite direction. And that was my transformation. I started to build my self-confidence. I started to educate myself. Education is powerful. When you know more, you can do more. And, when you're confident and educated, there's really no better combination. So I really, really just stuck to my morning routine, and I started to feel a little bit more empowered with the fact that I knew I could build a business, because I saw it was right when, Instagram started to be, people started to put their businesses on Instagram, and it'd be like, people with a couple thousand followers, but they'd be coaching and they would be, empowering others. And I really loved that. So I thought, well, I can do that. And that's when I started meditating and visualizing. And those two things were nothing more than a way to make me feel better. And I didn't know they would be so transformative, but, when I was meditating, I wasn't in my, quote unquote, shitty reality. I was in my, happy visualization of what I want to create in my life. And that's what got me through. So that's why I preach meditation, because I think that, it can get you out of your situation, your current situation, and into a vision of the future. As Dr. Joe, do you know Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Oh, of course. Yes. I love him.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. But I love what he says about, when you can visualize something and it becomes more like a memory than a visualization, that's when it will come into your reality. That's what I did on a daily basis. And the transformation for me was self-confidence. It was, the ability to not only get myself out of these situations, but to kind of help other people get out of them without even really knowing it. I realized that a goal of mine is to inspire people just by having a conversation with them, and just by, showing them that as bad as it gets, as horrible as it gets, you can make it better. And I encourage everyone to go on YouTube and listen to, his name is slipping my mind right now, but he was a famous football player, and his story was, his mom was in an abusive relationship, and his stepdad made him sleep out in the garage. And because he couldn't get his stepdad off of his mom every time, like, he would beat her up, and it was horrible to watch. So he bought a deck of cards, and he started flipping the deck of cards, and every single card, like if he flipped a 5, he would do 5 push-ups, flipped a 6, he would do 6. And he did that the whole deck through. And then when he was done, he would start over and do the same thing for sit-ups. And he did that until he could pull these guys off his parents. And he says football and my NFL career was just a byproduct of me getting out of my bad situation as a child. And like, I used to listen to that audio every single day on the way to work. And I think it really, over time, like, I listened to that audio every day for probably a year, because I had an hour and a half commute to work at the time. And it was just how I started my morning, every morning when I would go to work. And I think it really helped me to see that, that guy, he was obviously in a worse situation than I was as a child, and feeling so, powerless. At least I was 21 or 20 something, and I had more control. So if he can get out of his situation as a child, I can get out of mine. And I don't know, it just inspired me. So
Amazing.
I think, listen to that. We should
We
get
started. That's amazing. I definitely want to find that. I think that was really cool. Like, he basically gamified becoming like more
strong.
healthy, strong,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think that's
Yeah.
something we don't often think about.
Ray Lewis. Is it right? No. I don't know. I'll have to find it for you. It's moving for
When we
sure.
find it, we'll put it in the comments and link it in the video. So I actually do want to talk more about entrepreneurship a
Yeah.
little bit, but before we do that, I'd love to know, like, to get started on this mission and start down this path, what are the three things? Let's give people three things to get started before we talk about entrepreneurship.
Set small goals that you are going to stick to. And I mean goals like, I'm going to drink a glass of water every single morning. The first thing I do when I get out of bed, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Because when we make promises to ourselves and we keep them, that's how we build self-confidence. It's really hard to be confident in yourself if you tell yourself you're going to start this big journey and this big, transformation, and then you don't stick to it. It just indicates to your subconscious mind that you're not somebody who sticks to their goals. You're not somebody who, can withstand the difficulties that come with a transformation. And it just sets us up for failure. So that was my first thing. I green tea every morning before my wonderful coffee, because I love coffee, but for me, it's a glass of water every single morning. My feet hit the floor, I go right to my kitchen and get a drink of water. And I've done that for probably 7 years now. And it sets you up. That was like a building block. So once you stick to that for a week or so, maybe you tell yourself, well, I'm going to go for a 20-minute walk every single morning this week. And once you start to, then you're drinking your water and you're going for your walk, and you just build on it. And I can't stress that enough, because I wish I had done that sooner in my life, because like I say, when you stick to a promise, no matter how small it is, you start to tell yourself, well, I'm somebody who, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And it's a powerful way to change your own perspective of who you are in your self-image. Another one would be go above and beyond for yourself, and try to recognize, if, like, I always say this to my clients, if you can't believe in yourself right now, like, I understand that. I was at a place where I couldn't believe in myself, but like, take my belief in you and use it. And like, I believe that anybody can become whoever they want to be, or else we wouldn't be here. Like, I don't think that there's anybody special. I think some of us are lucky enough to be exposed to this kind of information, whether we attract it into our life or we just come across it and we're ready to hear it. I don't know. Maybe somebody's going to see this video who wouldn't ordinarily be into this stuff and just get a golden nugget from it that they're going to take away. You just don't know. But I think that you have to give yourself the benefit of the doubt and realize that you are just snap out of it. Like, you're not meant to go to work 5 days a week and then die eventually. Like, there's just, I don't know. I wish I could just like knock that into so many people's minds. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt and recognize that you can do anything. And a third one, oh my gosh, the morning routine thing is important. Believing in yourself obviously is critical. Write down what you want. If you want something, I'm not sure if you've heard the study that was done at Harvard about writing goals down, but they took, I'm going to get this wrong, but in the 1970s, I believe, they took a class at Harvard. I think they were getting their MBA, and they divided them in 3 groups, and one group was writing their goals down. I think it was like 70% of the class did not have goals after graduation, and they didn't have any written down or in their head. And then like 25% had goals in their head but not written down, and roughly 5% had goals written down. And when they checked in with these people 20-30 years later, the people who had their goals written down at that time of graduation were like part of the 1%ers of the world, and they were making millions of dollars. So for me, I think when I wake up every morning, like, I have my goals written down at the beginning, like at the front of my my journal, and I look at them, and sometimes I rewrite them. Sometimes I just look at them and kind of just like revise and get in touch with them. But I think, just assessing your goals and staying on track and realizing that you're not waking up to scroll on social media for 12 hours. Like, you have things to do because your days make up your weeks and your months and your years, and your life's going to pass you by. So write your goals down, because it will help you to feel more connected to them, and you'll start to become somebody who just will, like, I look at my goals every day because I'm a goal getter. Like, I go get my goals and I go check things off my list, and that's just who I am. So it's
Yep.
about shifting your identity, in my opinion, to who you want to be.
Yeah, I think that we talked about that earlier, which is that I am. Like, those are the
Yeah.
two most powerful words in the English language.
Yes.
And that's a good transition, actually, because I had to believe that I was an entrepreneur. Like, I had to say I am an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And some days I still don't even believe it with like what I'm building. Like, I'm still kind of a freelancer, and it's a whole journey to go from 9 to 5, like working in a more traditional role, to what I did was a freelancer, and I'm still doing some freelancing, to actually selling your own products and becoming a
Yeah.
person that owns a business, because there's a lot to owning a business and actually making it happen. So I'd love to know a little bit about your journey to, I know you said like you did it for your friends and around there. And then,
Yeah.
so how did it turn into you actually making money by building this? So.
Yeah. So I love this question because like I said, and this is where my mind gets a little bit like, I don't know, I can't control everything. So whatever I can't control, I leave up to the belief that I get whatever I want and everything just seems to work out for me. Like, that's a belief that I've established with myself. And it's only true if you observe it to be true. So I knew nothing about business. I was a nurse. Like, you're not going to get much greener than that. And so when I, like, it was books for me, and YouTube. I learned so much from these two things. I feel like I got, a business degree on YouTube,
Yep.
and there's still times you have to outsource and you have to get help, because like I said, I don't know all the legalities of business and stuff like that. And, it's like $1,200 to go get a contract drawn up. And there are some costs associated if you're going to do this right. But it's just, for me, it was just knowing that, I didn't really know where I was going to start. I knew that I didn't want to coach one-on-one forever. I coach one-on-one now, but I do a lot of group coaching, and I am in the process of developing more digital products. I had a few e-courses, but I've taken them off and I'm revamping them. I think you have to find something that is sustainable, because if you have a business and it sucks the life out of you, my first client that I ever had, she sucked, like, paying client. Yeah. She sucked the life out of me. I would dread Wednesdays because those were our call days. And it's because I didn't set boundaries for myself. And I just said, well, she needs my help, so I'll help her. Knowing that, her and I didn't align 100% in our beliefs. Like, I knew that beforehand, but I thought, well, whatever, like we'll make it work. And this was a few years ago. And I just, I learned a lot from that, because I had 6 weeks of her every week. And I learned that setting boundaries is incredibly important when you're starting a business. And you hear this a lot, and I think it's a little bit redundant, but it's very important. Provide value. Like, when you provide value to people, they're going to want more from you, because it's like, well, if this is what she's giving away for free and just in conversation, like, she must have a lot more to give in a program, and like in a paid program or like a course.
Yep.
And I think, if you can't just talk about this, whatever you're doing, if you can't talk about it all day long, don't do it, because you're never going to have that passion that lights you up, because business is hard. It's not, it's not easy, and it's not all butterflies and rainbows, and working for yourself, you have to have some discipline. It's really nice to know that nobody's telling you to get out of bed, but at the same time, like, you have to get out of bed if you want to make your money. So I think people like us who have a message to share with the world, and it kind of comes from a place where, we feel called to do it. I think it's easier for us because we just I don't know. I feel like like I said, we have a message to share. So it just kind of comes through us. But for people who are, trying to operate a business just to make money, you might have some immediate success, but you're not going to have sustainable success.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I've thought about that a lot recently, and even like sometimes it surprises people that I say like the goal of the business is not to make money. It's to
Right.
impact lives. So we
Right.
forgot, I don't know how we forgot this, but we forgot that all business is interacting with other people. Like that's
Mhm.
all like literally there is.
Relationship.
That's the only thing there is on this planet, is interacting and selling things to other people.
Mhm.
And I believe that there are businesses out there that are just out to make money and trying to get things and make things or do things that make the world kind of a worse place, or
Pharmaceuticals?
yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And then there's all like, or that things end up in the landfills and all sorts of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Things that are bad for our bodies.
Mhm.
But if we bring conscious awareness, this is where I want to bring conscious awareness around things of like, okay, we can make money by impacting people's lives.
Mhm.
And if we think about a millionaire or a billionaire, instead of making $1 million, instead of say, okay, I want to impact 1 million lives, you're
Yeah.
going to make money. You have to make money. Like you have,
100%.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
It the money, like, money at the end of the day, when I feel, anxious about money, or when I was starting my business and I was like, "Well, who the heck is gonna pay me?" Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I suffered with the imposter syndrome as well, very severely, and, I learned, I started focusing on my money mindset, because your money mindset's important. And
mhm,
if you can get to a place where you are just about providing value and interacting with others, the money will follow.
yep,
But sometimes it takes a little bit of work to get there. So for me, I learned and stuck with the idea that money is a social construct. Like, it's just paper. At the end of the day, the paper itself is not worth anything, but money is essentially an energy transfer. And when I provide value to the world, the money will have to come back to me in order for me to be able to still provide the value that I'm providing. And if I'm
yes,
doing it for a higher reason, the money will find me. So and money has come to me in the most bizarre ways in the last year specifically. Like, it just kind of comes in when I'm not expecting it. Obviously, it comes from clients, but there's a lot of other ways that money can come to you that is not necessarily planned or expected. And I think, there's people who are just money magnets in the world. Like, those people who just seem to always have more. I think they just have this subconscious belief that there's always enough money, there's always more than enough money. And
yep,
whether they developed that on purpose or not, whether that was from childhood, um, it happens. And when we reprogram our own subconscious mind to believe that, we can create that in our own lives as well. So
yep.
I have a lot of fun with money. I think it's fun to play games and see how much you can get, and see how little effort you have to put in order to get money. So
Yep.
sometimes it's just, I don't know, it's fun.
Well, when you start thinking about life as a game, like
Yeah,
then you have like, because life is a game,
it
and
takes the
like,
pressure off. Like, it just
yeah,
takes the pressure off. Yeah.
yeah. Now you're like, oh, like what happens if I do this? What happens if I do this?
Mhm.
Do you know your human design, by the way? Just curious.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay, so I am
Yeah.
a too. So we
Are
like
you?
doing like all sorts of things, and
And
uh,
I had, like, that's in, sometimes that does not work in my favor. I don't know about
yep,
you, but sometimes I have this idea and then I have that idea, and I find it hard to complete one before I start the other.
yep,
So to be aware of your human design is a huge asset, because then you can work. Awareness is power. Like, once you know about yourself and your subconscious kind of programming, you can work with it. But until you
yep.
know about it, I'm telling you, it can be a challenge.
Exactly. And actually, that's why starting to work with possibly having interns and things like that, because us as manifesting generators, we get excited about shiny objects over here and over here.
Yes.
And what I would like to build is a team that's like, okay, here's my shiny object. I went and like I got things started. We did this interview.
Mhm.
Now take it to the next level and actually find people that their strength is actually taking and building systems or things like that.
I
So
love that. Yep.
it's important as you're, I think anybody that's going to be an entrepreneur, yes, like you said, bring awareness to your human design.
Mhm.
What lights you up? What gives you energy? And then find other people that are like complements to you so that you can all succeed together. So
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. And I think another thing that we're not taught in school is your subconscious mind. Are you familiar with the brain
yep.
wave states? So, alpha is what we're probably in right now, and beta is when we're kind of just like scrolling on our phone or watching TV, kind of mindless. And then we go into, deeper and deeper. When we are in childhood, we are in a theta brainwave state from 0 to age 7. And the only other time in life that we're in a theta brainwave state is when we're falling asleep as we get older. So, that sleepy feeling, like when you kind of like hear your phone go off when you're falling asleep, you were just in a theta brainwave state. And children are in that brainwave state from 0 to age 7. So we are absorbing everything we hear, everything we see, whether we know it or not. That's why, when you have a baby, it's really important to monitor how you're talking to the baby. Like, don't talk shit about your wife or your husband to your baby, because they're gonna pick up on that. Like,
Right.
it's just it's scientific. That's not manifestation. That's not woo woo. Like, that is science. And whatever we kind of get exposed to in our first 7 years is what we're going to continue to believe. So if we see our parents fighting over money at age 5, or we see, people in our class, like somebody being mean to you, like, you're going to develop these self-image issues that are going to carry on with you through life. And so if you can master your human design, your subconscious beliefs that you picked up when they were not your fault, like, it's not your fault when you're 7 years old that,
Yep.
you're experiencing these things, but it is the way it is. So if you can take control of that and harness that and reprogram it, you're going to have an amazing life. You just will.
There is a series called Transcendence. Do you know it?
Yes. Yeah.
So anybody that's watching, I think it's episode 3 of the first season of Transcendence. It's on Gaia, and they talk all about what we're talking about right now. So diving deeper, and they go all into reprogramming your subconscious mind, how you are as a baby, like until you're age 7. And one thing I wanted to say about that was that until you're age 7, you're also, and actually after age 7 too, but you're at that age, you're egotistical. You think everything's about you, right? So
Yes.
if, and it's not your fault, that's like the way we were designed.
Brain
So like,
development. Yeah.
right. So it's brain development. And it's also like, if I cry, I need something. I need to be changed. I need to
Dude.
have food,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So those beliefs that we're taking on are also about us. So then we think if our parents are fighting or if we don't have money coming in, it's because we made it happen and it's our
Mhm.
fault.
Oh,
So it's have to like really understand that and then say, okay, this is not what's reality. And now we have to move forward and to change our belief system so that we can be a successful entrepreneur. So
oh my gosh, I love it. And the one thing I want to add to that is, when you are changing those things as you get older and you do become a little bit more conscious, have compassion for yourself, because the only reason that your brain did that was for your own survival. So you're
yes.
egotistical because if you can recognize that someone's fighting because of you, maybe in caveman times, it's really important for you to be aware of that so that, you still have a family to go to. You can fix the things that if you're aware that you were the cause of something, you can fix it to stay with your family. And so it all comes back down to survival. And if you can, as an adult, hold compassion for yourself and recognize that your little self was just trying to protect you and your brain was just trying to hold a really comforting, safe space for you, that was a game changer for me. Because when you're not compassionate for yourself and you're just doing everything out of self-hatred, it's not a good place to be.
Yep. Yeah, I think compassion for ourselves and compassion for others. Like
Mhm.
there's probably, I hope people are watching this that might not be as far along on the journey. And I want to like have compassion for how we share things. And I think actually the word conscious can even be scary for people
Yeah.
so I think consciousness is really just awareness. Like, are you aware and do you
Mhm.
believe what you've been told? But what do you like in your journey of becoming an entrepreneur? Like, what did you need to become aware of to actually move yourself forward to like be successful?
Money blocks for me, like not blocks. I hate that word.
Yeah.
my money mindset. I knew that I was going to not ever be able to make money if I held the same beliefs about money that I had all through childhood and even early adulthood. When I would get my tax returns when I was in nursing school, you know, like I paid for everything, and I had like I worked a lot. And my mom, when tax return time would come, and my parents had money, so it was really like, this was a struggle for me, but she would say, it's time to give me your tax return money. So like every year I'd give her $5,000 because of there's no reason, like there's absolutely no reason, but I would always associate, when I get a lot of money, I lose it. So like, why work hard? Or, you know, I had all these different money things. And for me, like entrepreneurship, from my angle, it wasn't super structured. It was more, this is what I want to do. This is how I can help people. The money's going to come to me. And I feel very fortunate that I was able to build a brand that has sustained me, because I don't have the education about business that, you know, somebody else might have. I was never a freelancer. I never operated that way. Like I was literally in a hospital bed, like suctioning people's lungs. You know what I mean? It wasn't, it was so foreign to me that I just believed that if I did the work on myself and I could help other people have the transformation that that I've had, that the money will find me. And so, you know, obviously I set financial goals for myself, and I started really small, and I didn't ask for a lot starting out. I probably gave a lot more of myself than was reflected in how much money I was making, because I was scared to charge anybody in case they didn't, you know, have the results that I got for my, like, I was very paranoid about making sure that people were actually going to benefit from what I was providing them. So I had to get over that too. It was all mental for me. It was all about me. It was all self-image and confidence and money mindset. That's what it was.
I'm going through the same thing myself. I've given a lot for free, but it's getting like to the point where I need to like really start charging for things to actually make a bigger impact and stuff. So it's all these like little things and these gremlins and all sorts of stuff that are inside your head, inside your body, that are keeping you from actually making a bigger impact. So
absolutely.
So I want to be mindful of your time. Before we go, like I think it's really be aware of what's happening in the world right now. There's a lot of people struggling, mental health. People are losing their jobs. And I think entrepreneurship is great. Like obviously this whole series is going to be about conscious entrepreneurship. But where can people get started down the journey to maybe eventually become an entrepreneur? What would you tell somebody that maybe just lost their job, or maybe is trying to, or just like maybe they still have a job, but they're like, oh, I want to like see that I want to start making a side hustle or something like that. Like 2020 has been crazy. So what would you tell somebody right now that's kind of like struggling to get started on that journey?
2020 has produced more entrepreneurs than I think any other time in history. I would just say, you know, if you are at your job, or maybe you lost your job, whatever the case is, what do you want your day to look like every single day? When you wake up, you know, do you want freedom? Like, or do you maybe, like, some people don't necessarily want to be entrepreneurs. Some people want to, you know, go to a job, but maybe they want more freedom within their job. Maybe they want to be like an executive, or, you know, whatever the case may be. For people who want to be entrepreneurs, you have to go through your day-to-day, your dream day, your ideal day, like the best day of your life. That can be your every single day. What does that look like? What, like literally down to, you know, hour by hour, what are you doing? Like my dream day is having conversations like this with people all over the world and making an impact online. That is my dream day. Having a couple coffees in there as well, going for a walk, being able to execute my morning routine. That is my dream day. When I go to work, I told you, I think yesterday, I work 2 weeks of the year to maintain my nursing license. And those 2 weeks, I don't get to do my morning routine. I mean, I could if I woke up at like 4 a.m. So it's not that I can't, it's that I don't do my morning routine. I don't go for a walk. I work like a madman all day, and then I come home and I cry because it's just stressful. So that's not my dream day. And I would say you have to reverse engineer that. So what skills do you have? Or if you don't have any skills, what skills do you want to achieve? Like maybe you want to teach yoga, but you're not certified in yoga yet. Maybe you want to teach people about personal development, but you haven't gotten there on your own yet. Like you haven't quite had that breakthrough that you need in order to be able to guide people through that. So start having breakthroughs, start going on your own personal journey. Whatever you want, it has to be something that you can help other people with. Like if you have a product idea, that's one thing for me. I have a hard time coming up with, like, I watch Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, and I'm like, how did you come up with this? Like, where were you sitting that you came up with that? And you're on TV now. Like, that's baffling to me. Online products, do research, watch YouTube videos on what type of things you can sell online. Maybe you want to be an affiliate marketer. Maybe, and if you're going to do that, you have to build an audience of some sort. So build an audience and just give them what they need. Like just decide who you want to help, get really clear on who it is that your ideal client is eventually. Even if you don't like want to be a coach or anything like that, you just want a specific group of people around you. What do they look like? How do they act? What are their goals? And start to just in general decide who you want to be surrounded with, and start building an audience. Like I think that's a really underrated thing. I think you'll never regret having an audience online to some degree. Start an Instagram account of something that you're really interested in, and you'll meet people along the way that are interested in similar things. And the more you expose yourself to a life that you've never been exposed to, the more you're gonna start to open your eyes and see that there's so much out there that's available to you. I've said 1,000 times, I was a nurse. This was not on my realm of possibility to be able to do. Like it was not something that I was exposed to, yet here we are, because I decided what I was interested in, and I didn't know that I was taking a leap of faith. I started an Instagram account, and people gravitate towards people who know where they're going. And I didn't know where I was bringing them at the time, but I knew where I was going. So I think that, if you can, to sum up that big jumble, if you can decide your ideal day, the people you want to surround yourself with, how you would love to make money, because it is important to make money, as we know. Yep. Like, you have to do some education, you have to learn, you have to expose yourself, and always be YouTubing. Like YouTube has changed my life, because there's so many amazing people on there who have so much to offer. And I think it's just a matter of getting clear on what you're good at, who you want to be around, who you want to help, and how you want to make money. And it's a journey. Like, it doesn't come to you overnight. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you'll wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea, but a lot of the time it's self-discovery, and it's uncovering some things. Like, we all label ourselves. Like, I labeled myself as a nurse. I labeled myself as a rule follower, a people pleaser. This is how you're gonna live your life. And it took a long time to break free of those labels. So think of the labels that you've given yourself, or that other people have given you. Even the simple things like being clumsy. Maybe you fell one time in grade 1, and somebody said you're the clumsiest person in the world, and that stuck with you. And now you drop things all the time, and like you break plates and stuff, like myself, because you stuck with that label that you did one thing one time and you were labeled for it. So really look at your labels, and just see where you want to break free from it, because you can be whoever you want, and you can let go of whatever parts of you that do not serve you anymore.
Amazing. I want to sum that up too with sharing the journey and building the audience. I think those two things you said are very important, because actually, Gary Vee, right?
Oh yeah.
At the very start of everything that's happening this year, he said, like, you don't have to have the audience. You don't have to like know the vision. You can share the journey, right? So once you decide, you can share the journey. So I mean, I would love this to be highly produced and have like an amazing backdrop and all sorts of stuff, right?
a big
But this,
show. Like,
right. But this is the journey, right? This is the start of something, and sharing the journey. And I've tried to share my journey to be a nomad, to being in personal development and things like
mhm,
that. But now it's part of the journey to like really step it up and like create more structure and start doing more workshops and
yeah,
really moving into it. So the reason why that you are important to share that journey in each and every one of us is like when you see the person that's like quote unquote at the top,
mhm,
sometimes they can be like too far ahead because you're like, I
not
can't get
relatable.
there. They're
Mhm,
not relatable anymore.
yeah,
So if you're sharing the journey of you building it, that person that's also deciding to to start the journey could learn from you and could grow with you along the way. So,
I love it. Yeah, definitely.
so I think it's
I think, you know, there's somebody I follow online named Catherine Zenkina, and she started from nothing. She was an immigrant, but now she has, you know, a platform with about 200,000 followers, and she makes, you know, millions a year. And I followed her since she was at like, I don't know, 8,000 followers. And it's funny because I notice now that uh, if people were to start following her today, they would not be able to relate to her the way that I can relate to her because they're seeing this crazy successful person. But in reality, she started from nothing, just like the rest of us. So
exactly.
it's important to find people who inspire you, but who you can see yourself in as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all came into this planet from that 0 to 7 in a blank slate, and we
Yep.
just are a product of who we follow and what we learn and what we're
Yep.
experiencing along the way. So, so I
100%.
really appreciate the time and interview.
I appreciate it as well.
Would love to know how to contact you, how to find you, all those things that you can share with everybody.
Absolutely. So I'm at Lara X Parker, Lara, on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok's just fun, and I share a lot on there. I don't really know where that came from, but it's just it's been a fun ride. I have a lot of really wonderful followers on there. But Instagram is where I share, you know, my best tips and everything that I'm going through. My podcast is the Manifesting Vitality podcast, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's going to be a year this week since I started it, and it's all solo episodes. It's all everything that I've learned, and you know, my mindset shift over time. But I'm going to start having guests on there soon, so you'll have to come on when
Yeah,
I start having guests. That'd be awesome. And I started a YouTube channel, and it's just Lara Parker. And you know, I've been sharing videos on there, just trying to get that going. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
very cool. Well, thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm super excited. I think one of the biggest missions I have is just to link other people like you together.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do. So we'll have to do like some Zoom meetups and hopefully in-person meetups at some point in the
Oh my
future.
gosh, I'd love that. When all this crap is over with the pandemic, I would love to do
Yeah.
that.
There's something super powerful of a community built on personal growth and just building and helping each other grow.
Mhm.
And I think everything we talked about is super powerful. But when we do it together, when we connect together, maybe live in Airbnbs together around the
Yeah,
world, there's something super magic that happens from that. So
I couldn't agree
we'll
more.
figure that out in the future too. So
100%.
thank you again for being here, and I hope you have an incredible day. And for anybody who's watching, it's already on Facebook, so you can share this around, please. We'll link Laura, and it will also be on YouTube, and I'll take the audio and hopefully be creating a conscious entrepreneurship podcast as well
Oh,
from it.
love
So,
it.
all right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.